Greetings, greetings. I think it's still mute there, Malachi.
Sorry there. Good evening, everybody. Hope you're having a great Sunday. We're back with you today, Sunday, with another interesting conversation. Hope you had a great weekend. Of course, tomorrow is back to work and stuff like that. We got some interesting topics we want to talk about tonight. One of those would be the structure of any music award system in Guyana. We want to touch a little bit on the Dr. Eon Roberts case, and we also want to, bring you some highlights of what really took place with the opening of the new Demerara Harbor Bridge, as well as some new developments in terms of, the opposition leader in Guyana and some new developments coming out of the court in New York City. So we got a pretty packed show. Of course, you can hit me up on +592-641-0945. You can leave your comments or your questions in the comment section, or you can hit Martin up on
305-713-8595.
But before we jump into tonight's conversation, of course, Martin, the disclaimer. Let's go.
I got you. And the disclaimers read: the views, opinions, and statements expressed on the conversation are solely those of the individual hosts and guests, and do not necessarily reflect the views of our advertisers, Majestic Music Radio, Gem Radio, or Gem Network. The content of the show is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered as professional advice. Listeners' discretion is advised. Neither the station or the network assumes any responsibility or liability for the accuracy, completeness, or validity of the information presented. All content is subject to change without prior notice. With that being said, as always, please Google it, YouTube it, AI it, whatever.
Yeah, do your own research. Ensure that, if you heard something on this show and you want to ensure that it's valid information, you can do some research. It's important that you do your own research. So let's kick it off with, like I said earlier, we'll start off with the look at the award system. Any award system, especially when it comes to music award systems in Guyana. Let me kind of start off by explaining criteria for persons who are going to get awards, because criteria has to do with, for example, the general criteria for music awards include, all right, a project's eligibility within a specific time frame, artist and technical quality, commercial success, and other qualifications unique to each award. All right, as well as the voting process can be determined by industry professionals, sales data, or public votes. So that's just to give you an idea. And let me repeat that again. General criteria for music awards include a project's eligibility within a specific time frame, artist and technical quality, commercial success, and other qualifications unique to each award. The voting process can be determined by industry professionals, sales data, or public votes. All right? So that kind of gives you an idea of, when we talk about criteria for any award system in Guyana, what it should start off with. All right, and this is kind of taking it way ahead of the actual. This is putting the cart before the horse in this case. But I'm just trying to give you an idea of what goes into the award system. Now, the eligible period to be considered a musical work must be, and I'll give you an example, must have been released within a specific date range. such as, let's use an example, September the 16th, 2023 to August the 30th, 2024. For example, in 2025, that would be in the position now to be in for Grammy consideration or Grammy Awards consideration. All right. The commercial viability. The release must be made available to the public through a national release, either for sale in stores or online via downloads or a recognized streaming service. All right. The originality and the originality that goes into it, the originality and creativity has to do with the judges evaluate the composition, the lyrical content, and the overall creative vision. For example, for the album, for the originality upon requires a high percentage of material, and that material has got to be new and not previously released, or it's unreleased material. All right. Now, technical and artistic qualities. It would have to have panels will assess excellence in production, audio quality, and musical performance. Genre and category placement, that would depend on, for example, the releases are submitted in a specific genre, and review and to review committees to ensure the submissions fit those categories or genres. And the award often has many categories to cover the, excuse me, sorry, many categories to cover the breadth of musical genres. All right. So that has to, that comes under genres and categories. And human authorship. Why I want to mention this is because, of course, we're living in a technological age and there is AI that's taking over. A lot of people want to be able to, like, for example, what I heard recently where a writer was able to secure a deal, but using an AI singer to do that with an actual writer. But the person who's doing the AI generation, that they're collaborating with the writer, and they were able to secure a $3 million music deal. But they wouldn't be able to get an award because it's for some awards, entries must be primarily created by a human. All right, that's the legalities as it stands presently, right? Submissions for artificial intelligence or AI is the sole or core creative component are not eligible. All right. So just to give you a rundown, and of course this criteria goes, for example, for the Grammys, for the Billboard Music Awards, for the Juno Awards in Canada, for the Brit Awards in Britain, and of course the MTV Music Award system. So these are, what I'm outlining is just some of the criteria that goes into these award structures or systems. Now, why I wanted to talk just a little bit on the award system is because we seem to have, again, an issue where we don't want to have the full lobbying for the legal framework to be put in place, which would be the IP law issue, which has to be sorted out before we can get to the award system. Because one, based on what the criteria is saying, we haven't been able to show sales data for Guyanese artists. All right. We would have to have that metadata in order to determine, okay, this artist is selling their music, actually selling music. All right. And these are some of the criteria that, is international for any award structure globally. And we don't have that structure in Guyana, but yet we have an award system that somebody's propagating and saying, okay, well, this is what it's gonna be. But the funny thing about the system is that it doesn't seem to be the award doesn't seem to be in one place, because it's awarding radio announcers, it's awarding athletes, it's kind of all over the place. And really and truly, that's now not how music awards work. All right, it's got to be focused, and it's got to be channeled in a particular direction. You also have to have the metadata. For example, if the person has music on Spotify, Apple Play, Audio Mac, that kind of thing, we've got to be able to see the streams. We've got to also be able to see the sales. So that's what I wanted to kind of just clarify to the audience in terms of what award, especially music award systems, are all about.
Sorry about that. Well, naturally, right, as our topic is rapid growth, I would imagine or I would hope that individuals who is in the business is coming in with some bit of experience to understand, well, hey, if we want to grow from where we are now, then we have to implement things to make that happen, right?
Yeah,
And we would look at different areas of business. Let's let's look at music. If you want to make money from music, you first have to put out the music and have that music registered.
yeah,
You understand? In order to start making any type of money, putting out the music is several different ways. You could upload it to YouTube just like that, just like what everybody else used to be doing in the earlies.
yeah,
And then soon as everybody learn about, oh, DistroKid, oh, CD Baby, TuneCore, now
yeah,
everybody wanna have music on DSPs. Now that they have music on DSPs, they kind of forgetting about YouTube still, right? But fortunately enough, the DSP now have everything built in for them where they're reaching all platform at once. So you don't have to go and hassle and upload and re-upload. The DSP is syncing everything up for you currently. So it making your job as an artist or creator easy. But that is growth. That is criteria. That is levels to
yeah,
make money. Because the goal of the business is always to make money, right? Now
yeah,
imagine doing all of that and never registering your music with BMI, never opening an account with Song Exchange or MLC or Music Reports or Harry Fox Agency or any of the agencies that is there to collect money.
yeah,
That is a waste of time. And this is what is get artists and creators caught up, right? We're
yeah,
now, since that part is not being taken care of properly, now we have an award system in play, and that is not being run properly, right? And when I say properly, it's not just off of my opinion of what's how it's supposed to be, but according to industry standard. Because if we're gonna award somebody, we have to have some type of
criteria.
criteria and the merit base, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I'm seeing with certain awards is it come out and everybody, especially the ones in Guyana, they have been awarding people in Guyana for the longest while. This is not the
yeah.
first award system. They have been awarding people, but
Hmm.
it has also been garbage, right?
Because
This is me
it's
on the
not
radio.
competing with anybody. It's not competing even amongst themselves. It's not even doing
Correct.
that, which is the
Because
basic.
then it became counterproductive. The artist is working to be better. The DJs is still having an issue because as I'm seeing of what 2 days ago, DJs and artists beefing.
Yeah,
The radio stations still have issues with quality music and clean music.
yeah,
The promoters still not booking local artists to the capacity that they supposed to be or should be doing, right?
yeah.
So if we don't have all these things in place, why are we awarding anybody? Who are we placing these awards upon? That don't make sense.
Just to interject on what you were saying there, when you talked about the music, the artists putting the music on the platforms, they one of the things that I think they've totally missed as well is that they personally have to market. If you have a product, if you have a product and you don't market that product to the world, who's going to know that you have this product that is a good thing for them to get?
This is why a lot of artists lose out. You could still go and find 5 years ago they only have 1,000 views. 10 years ago they got 10,000 views, if so much, right?
Yeah,
And they're not
yeah,
understanding that nobody not hating on you, but what you've been doing clearly haven't been working. Because if after
correct.
5 years, 10 years, even at this point, if after a year you don't have 1 million views, you're kind of wasting your time.
Yeah,
That means you're not marketing your product. Because
you're not marketing your product.
when I got my first 1 million views and I knew how exactly I got it, I knew what the type of work I put in. I was on Twitter at the time. It was Twitter. I was on Twitter inboxing everybody. I was on
Yeah,
Facebook. I was on Instagram. I was on Kick. Anywhere that I could send me link to, yo, check out my music, hottest thing in the streets right now, boom, boom, boom. And I reached 1 million views. And I was like, all right,
yeah,
I could duplicate this. Obviously, things change. I can't go and do it the second time with the same group of people. But this is why Facebook have like Facebook groups. In Instagram now have the groups. So you're able to reach more people at a faster pace, even on your WhatsApp. You could post your
yeah,
status, you can see 100 people like it or whatever the case may be, right?
yeah,
Now, SoundCloud have always been a platform that I think was overrated at one point, and then people kind of push it in the background, and now it come back out, and people not even paying attention to SoundCloud. Audio Mac, the same thing. You might think it's free, but you're making money from your 1 million views on SoundCloud,
yeah,
right? You're making money from Audio Mac, them 10,000 views, them 100,000 plays that's been generating on there. You're supposed to get paid for it. But if you don't go into the right system of doing things, then you're losing money. You're just getting views for nothing, wasting your time. You understand? So
hmm,
these are some of the things that artists and creators in general and their team members need to understand. Well, hey, if you have these things in place, I think now the artists deserve an award. For instance, if we look over in the neighboring country, Trinidad, Kes is now being considered for a Grammy. After
correct.
all
Yeah,
these,
after all these years.
now, I can't remember if Marshall was in that category at one point,
Yeah,
but I
Marshall was in, yeah, Marshall was considered
know.
at one point as well.
But you see how long it took from Marshall to Kes? And then
But,
who else
but
is going to be?
but when you look at it, Marshall was the leader because I mean, from since he was like what 5, this guy came out with They say you're too young to boogie. Oh yo, you making joke?
Okay, come on. That is merit right there. That is, if you're doing something, you have to do it on merit. If
Yeah,
I'm to give
yeah,
award, I would give certain people who have been pioneering really and truly certain things and have not just been pioneering, but stood the test of time. Because to stand the test of time, you have to still be in the business doing the same exact thing today.
yeah, yeah.
You understand?
I think we have major issues in terms of you know how people are so eager to be recognized. Um, to for people to show them, especially our artists, to show them that you know we paying attention to you, we are listening to you. That they run into this this system that really is not beneficial to them because really um, an award really signifies your excellence one and the uh, your skill, which means you are at the top of the game. All right. And I'll give you an example of what we're talking about. I mean, one of our most popular artists is Natural Black. But if you go on Natural Black's metadata across the musical spectrum and their platforms, you realize that, for example, Spotify really has like 47,000 to 50,000 views. The same with maybe YouTube. Audio Mac is going to be way less. So, what I do believe our artists are missing, and we really can't have an award system until really Guyana has updated its intellectual property right laws, and there is an enabling environment in Guyana. Because one of the things I saw yesterday was one of the young artists. I think it was is I'm trying to remember their names, but two of them were online and they were talking about the DJs not playing their music and stuff like that. And this all goes back to the IP law issue, which we've been calling for individuals to get on board and to lobby, which is to pressure the government to get involved with this more, which really is looking out for your best interest. Because without the IP law issue being sorted out, you're going to create stuff. You're going to say, okay, well, it should have been here, it should have been there. And some people say charity begins at home. That's a fact. But unless there is a regime that allows that charity to happen, so that, for example, the bars that play music have to pay for the use of music, the nightclubs, the hotels, the radio stations, the TV stations, if you don't have a rigid regime that forces these entities to pay for the use of music material, you're going to create how much material you want and people will be able to use it for free. So it all goes back. And of course, even the award system all goes back to a structure. And that structure starts or begins with the IP law issue. Without that being fully updated and enforced, all right, we're going to continue having these issues where the younger artists are going to come on social media. They're going to argue about DJs not playing their music and all kinds of stuff, which really, that's not the structure of how it works. Because it's not about the DJ playing your music, because the radio station is really supposed to have what is called a program manager. And that program manager is the person who understands the specific direction of that station. So the music that is coming into that station goes through a system before it gets on air. So if we do not look at that particular issue, which is the IP law issue first, where we would have to sit down and chisel out how we're going to structure our IP laws updates in Guyana, and look at other countries in the Caribbean that we can actually take a module from, like, for example, Trinidad, Barbados, Jamaica, and we can work a system into Guyana, it will be futile, one, to have awards. It will be futile for the artist to go on social media and say, oh, this is happening and the other is happening, because there's no structure. All right. One of the other things to this is that a lot of the very artists, when we talk about marketing your own product, a lot of the artists, when they do get an opportunity to deliver their product to an audience, they do not do that. They go out there and they will sing cover music. They will sing somebody else's music, which is really reinforcing that person's music in your market. So if we're not getting the basics in terms of understanding what we need to do, and this is why myself and Martin have kind of have reserved our comments in recent months about what's going on. But I decided to like mention it again, so those who have ears will hear that without the IP law issue, you could jump as high as you want, you can argue as much as you want on social media, but if the enabling environment through the IP law update issue is not going to happen and you're not going to lobby for it, well, you will remain in a position where nothing happens for you. And that is as simple as it goes. It's as simple as I could put it.
Well, unfortunately, we could only go one way with this, and I rather go up Yes, right. Because anything I've been doing, I've always put myself in a position where I'm able to make some type of capital. And if you're not making capital, then you really and truly are wasting your time. You
Yep,
understand? Because why be in an industry or a business and invest in money, invest in time, invest in energy, and not being able to capitalize any at all? It don't make
yeah,
any sense. So I would encourage anybody, do you, but do it in the right manner also. You understand?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
at the end, the rest of the world looking on. And if the rest of the world looking on, you need to make sure everything is, as they say, cross your T's, dot your I's. All
yeah,
right?
yeah,
We're growing. We're in a growing economy, especially for Guyana. It is an ever growing place.
yeah.
So we
And
must
and
make
it's going to
sure
grow
we grow
exponentially
with
in
it.
the next couple of years. It's going to grow exponentially in a couple of years.
Yeah, man. We must make sure we grow with that. It's important that we
Yeah,
grow with the time that we're in.
yeah,
Currently as we speak, the government of Guyana is cutting the ribbon to open on a new bridge. That is growth within itself.
yeah,
You understand?
yeah,
So we must make sure in the music space we continue to grow. In the business space we continue to grow. In any way we're anything we're doing, even within your personal self. You mustn't be the same person you were yesterday, today. Something gotta change. And if
something.
you are, then it's clear that you're wasting your own time.
Yeah, yeah. And I believe for those people who really don't have the drive, the consistency, and the energy for this, they should really make some space for those people who have the drive and the passion and the energy to take it
Mm-hmm.
forward. Because I do believe that a lot of people um, would like to have an understanding of the business a little more. They would like to have some clarity, but because there are so many individuals who really don't know, but they're saying so much in the space that it's really clouding. Um, it's not giving some artists the opportunity to really understand the
Correct.
environment that they're in because they're being misled. They're not understanding that really and truly you should be lobbying for a specific change to happen, because without that change, you're not going to be able to benefit from your craft. And it's as simple
Indeed.
as that, you know. But we want to move on to our next topic for this evening. Of course, don't forget to hit us up in the comment section. You can leave your questions or your comments in the comment section. You can hit me up on +592-641-0945, or you can hit Martin up on.
305-713-8595.
All right, so we want to deal a little bit with let's say a particular thing that has been like that has been one of the biggest stories in not only in the US, but it has been a big story in Guyana. The story of Dr. Eon Roberts. And it kind of kicked off when the initial story came out. A lot of people were um, it was an ICE the gentleman was detained by ICE. um, Actually, he was stopped in a roadblock and he drove off, jumped out of his car, ran into a wooded area to try to get away from the ICE officials. And he was apprehended, eventually brought into custody. And the big news story was that this guy was the superintendent of education in Iowa. And it just so happens to be one of the largest districts in Iowa. He was the superintendent of. And that kind of sparked off a whole slew of stuff which kind of came up in the background. I know a lot of people in Guyana were saying um, he would be somebody good to come home and contribute to the educational system in Guyana, which from let's say a myopic standpoint, or just listening to the news stories at the time, everybody would have said, including myself, that this individual could very well come home and contribute to the educational system in Guyana. But after a few days, of course, further investigation about this this doctor and, his credibility, his certificates, all the other stuff that goes along with it, started to come up. So just in case, for those people who have not got an opportunity to understand what we're talking about, let's run this news vlog, because it's not a news story, it's a news vlog that's dealing with it, which would include a couple of news clips as well to give you a greater understanding. And then when we get back, we kind of dissect what we believe could be the possibilities of Dr. Ian Wills really coming home and being a productive member in the educational system in Guyana. All right, so let's do that. Could we add that to the stage, Martin? And when we get back after this, we'll chop it up, and you can also hit us up. Let us know what your thoughts are. Is Dr. Wills being unfairly treated? Is it a case of, they're not investigating properly, or it could be a case of racism? But you be the judge. Of course, leave your comments and your questions if you have them in the comment section. You can hit me up on +592 641 0945. You can hit Martin up on as well on
305-713-8595. Malachi, you could go ahead and play when ready, and just hit the extend button for the screen itself.
All right, so let's go ahead and play that.
A criminal illegal immigrant has been arrested by ICE after lying about his background and serving as a high school superintendent. The case has put a spotlight on hiring practices throughout the nation and launched a DOJ investigation.
In this episode, we dig into the details of the case with civil liberties attorney Laura Powell and Daily Wire reporter Amanda Prestigiacomo. I'm Daily Wire executive editor John Bickley with Georgia Howe. This is a weekend edition of Morning Wire. Joining us now to discuss a public school scandal out of Iowa's Daily Wire reporter Amanda Prestigiacomo. Hey, Amanda. So we briefly covered this case this past week. Quickly, would you set the stage for us? Who is this illegal immigrant and when was he arrested?
Yeah, so ICE officers arrested 51-year-old Ian Andre Roberts on September 26th, and that was part of a targeted enforcement operation. Roberts, who's from Guyana, he was in the U.S. illegally and had a deportation order from May of 2024, and he also had a prior weapons charge from 2020. He fled from ICE when he was approached, but was eventually arrested. And at the time of his arrest, Roberts was illegally in possession of a loaded handgun. He also had $3,000 in cash and a fixed blade hunting knife. And of course, the big issue here, why this is so compelling, is that Roberts was serving as the superintendent of Des Moines Public Schools. He was basically CEO of the school district, which has more than 30,000 kids in it. So a lot of responsibility there.
Right, as I understand, it's the biggest school district in the state. So we have this past illegal weapons charge, according to ICE. What else do we know about his background?
Yeah, so we know he entered the U.S. from Guyana back in 1999 on a student visa. He overstayed that visa and he tried to apply for immigration status, but that was unsuccessful. And he was given that final order to be removed in May of 2024. He was never a U.S. citizen, though he apparently falsely claimed to be. We also know that he had 6 children with 5 different women. He disclosed that on his immigration application. That's according to reporting from the Daily Wire's Jenny Terre. His 2 oldest were born in Guyana and the others were born in the U.S. As far as resume discrepancies, Roberts apparently obtained a doctorate from an online school a few years back, but he was claiming potentially a decade earlier that he had a doctorate. Here's civil liberties attorney Laura Powell on that.
He claimed many times over the years to have a doctorate from Morgan State University. I don't know, it's possible he did coursework there, but he was calling himself doctor at least as early as 2012. But he didn't get his doctorate until 2021. So he pretended he had one from Morgan State.
Now, despite his immigration status, his criminal background, and potential lies on his resume, Roberts worked in education for more than 20 years. He was a teacher, a principal, and he was a superintendent, not just in Des Moines, but previously at a Pennsylvania school district as well. In light of all this, initially, the Des Moines School Board, they held an emergency meeting and they put Roberts on paid leave. The state then revoked his license to be a superintendent and he resigned on September 30th.
How did this happen? How did Roberts slip through the cracks?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a pretty egregious oversight here. We spoke to Powell for more information on that, and she sees it twofold. First, Roberts simply being a con man and a liar, but also this ties into this obsession with DEI goals and initiatives that can blind a lot of people.
And yet it does seem that the numerous background checks he's gone through professional agencies somehow missed all of these major red flags. He's lied a lot about various basic facts about himself, where he was born, when he was born, what degrees he has. Those are the big ones that really seems like somebody should have caught before he got to the point where he's in his second superintendent job. Pretty clear he was not born in Brooklyn, was not raised there. And, it's kind of absurd on its face that nobody noticed that he had a foreign accent when he claimed to be born and raised in Brooklyn. Nobody seemed to have asked more questions.
Here's what Powell had to specifically say about how DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion possibly ties in here.
I think the reason why he was able to con them goes to this trend in our education system of DEI that people wanted. You look at Des Moines School Board, they talk about how they need to have more diversity in their staff. And I think they were very happy to have a Black man who seemed to be perfect come in, and they didn't want to ask questions. And besides the fact that, we're taught it's a microaggression to ask people questions like, where are you from? If the person has an accent, I think people were hesitant to question him too hard. That's what I imagine was going on with these school board members it's an all-female school board, and they seemed really enthralled by him.
Now, on this whole DEI beat, the Department of Justice's Civil Rights Division on Tuesday, they launched an investigation into Des Moines Public Schools to determine if they're engaging in illegal race-based employment practices. The DOJ highlighted the district's website, and that says that they require their teaching and learning staff to match the student population in terms of demographics and cultural responsivity. The district also apparently set goals to increase its number of teachers of color. That was part of an affirmative action plan. And they said they were prioritizing voices of people of color in addition to other DEI initiatives. Now, commenting on this investigation, Harmeet Dillon, who's the Assistant Attorney General for the Civil Rights Division, she tied this into immigration law. On X, she wrote, quotes, "Be on notice. If you ignore federal immigration laws, we may investigate you too." Now, another interesting tie-in here is that the chair of the Des Moines School Board is Jackie Norris. Now, she was chief of staff to former First Lady Michelle Obama back in 2009. She's currently running for U.S. Senate as a Democrat in Iowa. Norris said that Roberts stated he was a citizen on his I-9 employment eligibility form, and he provided a driver's license and a social security card when he was hired. Here's Norris in her own words.
The individual who was leading our district with energy and enthusiasm was detained by ICE agents. Since that time, this district, the Iowa Department of Education, the Department of Homeland Security, and others have learned that his citizenship and status and eligibility to work in the United States is not what we were led to believe. New details have led to more questions, really important questions. For all of us, this is not what we anticipated when we welcomed Dr. Ian Roberts into Central Iowa and the Des Moines School District a little more than 2 years ago. It is a sad and troubling end for an individual who gave many people, especially our students, hope.
Is anyone else from the district commenting on this? Did they run proper background checks?
So the Des Moines Public School Communications Director, Phil Roeder, he said that a background check was conducted by a third party before Roberts was hired. Baker Eubanks, the company used to run this background check, they told the Daily Wire that they disclosed that Roberts had this criminal history, but the district went ahead to hire him anyway. They didn't find anything on his immigration status, though, apparently. Now, additionally, reporting again from Jenny Terr shows that Roberts was never run through the federal E-Verify system. That's the system that checks to see if workers are in the country legally and if they're eligible to work. In fact, it seems that Des Moines Public Schools actually never enrolled in E-Verify at all.
Was the district mandated to run Roberts through E-Verify?
So Iowa doesn't require employers to use E-Verify, but currently there is a bill pending that would require this from Iowa employers. Unsurprisingly, this specific case has sparked a lot of calls for E-Verify to be mandated everywhere. Scott Mikowski, who has decades of experience in immigration enforcement, and he recently testified before Congress about ICE, he told the Daily Wire, quote, "The hiring of an undocumented individual with a criminal history and a deportation order into a position of educational leadership exposes a profound vulnerability in our systems, one that E-Verify could have sealed at the outset." Mikowski added that this is not merely an oversight, but it's a betrayal of public trust. He said it demands immediate reform to safeguard our institutions and communities. Another direct quote, "How many more are out there? Pass E-Verify immediately." So a lot of calls for change as this all continues to unfold. We've seen a lot of calls to action after some other standout illegal immigration cases. Oftentimes those are really brutal and fatal. We'll just have to see how this one shakes out.
Yeah, we'll see where this goes. Really a remarkable, frankly, unbelievable case that exposes a lot of institutions as you've laid out. Amanda, thanks for reporting.
You're welcome.
That was Daily Wire reporter Amanda Presta-Giacomo, and this has been a weekend edition of Morning Wire.
All right, so that was a pretty interesting update on Dr. Ian Roberts and what was going on with his case. I've got several questions. I mean, when they mentioned the E-Verify, which is a company, a standalone company that is responsible for vetting applicants for certain types of jobs in the U.S., especially maybe in the educational system. How was it possible that, the E-Verify could not verify his qualifications initially? Of course, he was a real teacher and a principal for 20 years. So he was able to garner the experience and the knowledge, of course, in the educational field. But in terms of his doctor, information came out that from Georgetown University, he did not complete. And of course, you've got to do your dissertation in order to become the doctor of philosophy, all right, which he didn't complete. But how, my question would be, how did all of this just slip through the cracks and he was still given the job? That is the puzzling part of it. That's one. And then his immigration status as well. I mean, if you had a notice of removal from the US since 2024, how was he able to secure the job after having a notice of removal from the U.S. court? That's really, really, those are the questions I have.
So I think I could help answer that. So the verifying system is not, as they said, a mandatory one in that state. In some states it is. For instance, I am in New York and I had to undergo a background check, right?
Mm-hmm.
For several different companies that I put in application for. I did have to submit the I-9 form, right? I did have to submit other documents, right? Because New York actually one of the most rigid structures I've seen with job applications.
Yeah.
Right. So I did submit a couple of stuff, but they also ask about if I'm a resident, if I'm if I'm somebody who have work documents or need work documents, if I'm a citizen. And of course, I'm a resident. So I put my residency card in, put in the numbers, send in proof of residency and everything, right?
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind, he would have had these documents while he was in that job 2024 is only months ago,
Yeah, that's what I'm
right?
saying. It's only
It's
almost a
not that
couple months.
far. He's been working in that job a couple years now. The thing is, strictly government, wisely population. If
Mm,
I get, from what I've seen on the USCIS website, actually, the DHS website, the Department
mhm.
of Homeland Security, he had these documents, just that it expired, just like everything else. What
Right.
happened? He did not get that renewed. It was then denied. Instead of getting a newer one, updated one, it was denied
Mhm.
altogether, and he was given a removal from USCIS, which
All
means
of
he
them,
had to
yeah,
be removed from the
from the.
country,
Mhm.
right? Because remember, Trump is in now. We in Obama times, we in Biden times, where you could have stayed in the country and applied for that change of status. You have to be out, and this goes for every other application too. You have to
Yeah,
be
yeah,
wherever you live in to get to put in your application. They will accept or deny it from that place. If you're in America and you put in an application, you're going home. You
yeah,
understand me? So it's a new
yeah.
system in place, everything different. So it's not like he didn't had the documents. He had
Mhm.
documents. It expired
Yeah.
months ago, right? I mean, it's just like everything else. If I'm working at a place, and this is me being honest, if I'm working at a spot and me documents expire, you think I can run for tell them, hey guys, I have to leave the job now because I don't have any more documents and I'm trying to get it, but just bear with me. No, I'm not. I gonna collect me two
No,
cents and I gonna try
nobody's
to
doing
fix it in the background. So in case anything happen, I have new documents. In his
that.
case,
Yeah,
there's no new documents for him.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But just to be the devil's advocate here as well, because I'm looking at all the circumstances that kind of put Mr. Ian Roberts in this situation. The the issue of his qualifications is something that it puzzles me a lot. I mean, I'm from a family that my older brother is also a doctor of philosophy, so I understand the process to get there. Um, I am the nephew of one of our greatest historians of Guyana, Dr. Walter Rodney. So I understand the process to get there. Now, how did he beat the system by claiming he was a doctor, not a medical doctor, that's a DR, but a doctor of philosophy who would have had to attain a PhD to do that? Now, we know that in the state, like you mentioned earlier, in the state of Iowa, there was no uh, e verify system that was really
Mhm.
needed. All right. But wouldn't the onus be on Ian Roberts himself to make it clear that, listen, in my application, because in one of those news stories, not this one, but in another one that I saw, the the school board said that they had noticed the discrepancy in the fact that he said he had achieved his doctoral from Georgetown. Actually, it was supposed to be two doctorals because one is from an online university, which he did get, and one is from Georgetown, which he did not complete based on the university. He did not complete his dissertation. So, the onus would be on the individual now to be honest and truthful and to let and put that in their application, or even if it wasn't in their application, to make mention to the school board when they did have the formal meeting with him. He could have said to them, listen, I have these issues that are pending. I have a issue of removal, immigration status issue, which I'm working on. And I also did not complete my dissertation from Georgetown. But obviously, he went to the university. But in terms of achieving the doctoral, he was unable to do that because he did not present his dissertation. That's the issue. All right. So to me, I think the onus was mainly on him to clarify those particular issues where he could have said to the board, the educational board, listen, I have this particular issue. All right. And what would be the steps in order for me to either clear it up so that I can be hired, or I would have to step back from, getting this job? Because being a superintendent, as you know, in the largest district in Iowa, that's something pretty significant for, a Guyanese to have achieved, to get to the
You
US
see,
and become a superintendent in that position.
but really and truly, so from my opinions, of course, right? As
Mm.
the disclaimer is. Now, me personally, strictly government, why is it the population? So I have applied for jobs. I've applied for marketing jobs. I've applied for production jobs. I've applied for audio and visual production jobs. I've applied for several other jobs, right?
Uh-huh.
Within my entertainment field. I've even applied to be at Warner Music to be the A&R. Now,
Hmm.
I could start from A&R. When I applied to be the A&R at Warner, they responded in the, I can't remember the exact words, but somewhere in the capacity that I need to build up my repertoire, right? At this
Yeah,
point,
yeah,
I knew to
your
America.
resume has to be
I
good.
got a
Yeah.
couple songs and me name nothing original either, right?
Hmm.
But I needed to have a catalog, and at that point, I didn't have a catalog.
Yeah.
But if I had a little more sense, I could have said, you know what? I knew Malachi. Malachi got dozens of catalog, and I could have claimed Malachi's catalog and say, yo, me partner get terabytes of music, and I know
But
the
yeah,
business
but
because I
that's
really truly know the
that's
business.
still that's still being truthful though, because without us actually having the catalog, that would have been deceitful. But we actually do have it, so that is truth,
Correct. But
right?
but it's not my catalog. I using you know to get a position, right? So they
Hmm.
told me to go build up a catalog. I went, spent a couple years, built up a catalog. At that
Okay.
point, I didn't need the job anymore because the amount of money that they was going to pay me for the knowledge that I would have gained over time building up that catalog, it
Hmm.
didn't make any sense. So I didn't want to be A&R no more. I now end up running my entire organization, whereby I just don't have one song compared to when I started. After 13 years in America, I got well over 100 songs, all original, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Controlling masters and copyright. I am
Yeah.
now direct competition with the people I wanted to work with at one point. It might
Yeah.
be small, but keep in mind the big labels is buy out the small ones. So I still
Yeah. But
got
listen,
some
I
merit
mean,
in there.
we think big, so we understand hemisphere. They may be able to
Brother,
control that hemisphere, but we have our own hemisphere which we dominate as well.
so
So
exactly what you said there, we think big. I've always believed we as Guyanese have that queen and king mentality still the way we operate. We always want things to be perfect. We, as you could see how the brother dressed, the brother always looking nice and sharp and fresh.
yeah, the
You
brother was
understand
on
me?
point. The brother was on
We
point.
always want to be seen in a certain manner, right? This is
Yeah.
how we Guyanese just naturally is. We want to be seen in a certain light. So we don't go anything below. I mean, the guy is scripts, but even they have sophisticated scripts. So that tells you how we think, even if
Yeah.
we at a low level. So going for, so I understand what this man did was wrong, but at the same time, if I am aiming high, I aim in high.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. Yeah.
understand me? I go into school, I ain't gonna tell you, listen, I now getting me doctorates. Nah, mentally, I'm already there.
Yeah.
It is their fault that they didn't foresee that
No, but
on documentation,
one of the things too that we have to mention with this case
right?
is that
Because
it's one of the things we got to mention is that is an ongoing investigation, and it just may
mhm,
be that other information may come out that kind of debunks, you know, what's being stated presently, that he was unable to get this qualification or that qualification. So we can't say initially at this present time that, you know, he doesn't have the qualifications in full until a full investigation is completed, and you know, all the information that has to be garnered actually comes to the public knowledge. Because when it initially started, it started off on just the immigration aspect of it. All right. Now, the funny thing to me, as well, that I think, you know, based on what I've seen his legal team come out and say, there is no way that this gentleman could have been working in the US without a social security number. All right. So obviously, there are some things that kind of line up to give him that opportunity, because working 20 years as a teacher and a principal means that you had to have a social security number. You had to have certain documentation. All right. Now, I'm hoping, and this is just my opinion again, I'm hoping that is a case of a glitch in their system and they mixed up identities, because that is something that can possibly happen. All right. Because based on what his lawyer
No,
stated,
so
he has certain qualifications. And some of for example, MIT is claiming that no, he didn't come here. So there is some discrepancy in what he has said. But also, there is some legalities that have to be taken into consideration, because obviously he had to have a social security number to work in the US.
so from what I know, as long as you have a work permit, a work document, you're able to get a social security card.
Yeah. And I think that is what his lawyer was saying. You know, that in his defense, he did have a social security number. You know, but again, I'm hoping that, you know, this whole situation, because Dr. Roberts has hired a legal firm to help him to not only investigate what's happening with him now, but also to reopen his immigration case, because he did get a lawyer based on what the news networks have said. He did get in his first case, the lawyer did give him a letter that states that his immigration issue was resolved. I don't know if the lawyer gave him the wrong information, or, you know, we don't know what is happening, because it seems quite confusing for somebody to be working in the US for 20 years as an educator, as a teacher, and as a principal. I'm not saying it can't happen, but I'm hoping that, you know, in some way, somewhere along the line, it was legally done, and his stuff expired in 2024. He had an order of removal, which he should have then, maybe in my estimation, he should have gotten legal advice, gotten a lawyer to reopen his case and to really file the necessary documents for him to be in the country. But, you know, like Martin said earlier, this is the Donald Trump's term, and he's a little bit more strict in terms of the immigration laws, the immigration flow to the US, which I personally have no issues with, because he is the president of the United States. He makes the decision on what is going to be happening in the US. So everybody has got to toe the line, as per se, as we say in Guyana. When you're in Rome, you do as the Romans do. And like Martin said earlier, if you're in the US and, you know, your documents have expired, the best thing to do is to leave. And if you want to get back to the US, reapply, and ensure that you have the requisite documents so that they can say, okay, well, we accept this to allow you back into the country, or you're denied. It is as simple as that. I mean, I don't know why people are so um I don't know, perplexed, scared about ensuring that, listen, if you don't have the right documentation, the best thing for you to do is to leave, because then you find yourself in a position where you are now residing in the US illegally. All right. And that could put you in a situation, for example, where ICE can detain you and remove you from the country. And a lot of people don't want to face deportation. But if you don't want to face those issues, in my estimation, the best thing is to ensure, if you don't have the documentation and you're there now, you have an opportunity to, as we say, self-deport. It's better you buy your ticket and stuff and, exit, reapply from Guyana, and see if, you will be accepted to come back or not. But trust me, Guyana is a beautiful place. I know Dr. Roberts, when he comes home, or if he comes home, because I know his legal team is going to be putting up a strong defense for him to stay there. But if he has to come home, he should work on getting into, I wouldn't say the educational system, because there's a lot of private work he can do. He can become a private teacher, a private tutor. He could get involved with the private school system. There's a lot that, he can possibly contribute coming back home, because he does have 20 years of experience in the teaching service. It's just that, in terms of having that the doctorate from Georgetown, he didn't complete the dissertation, so he didn't have the double doctorate as stated in his resume. But he is a qualified PhD from one of the universities. So hey, I wish him the best in getting that issue resolved, and getting the immigration issue resolved as well, because I mean, spending that amount of time contributing to an educational system in the US, to me, he has put in a lot of work. So I would hope that at some point, even if he has to come home, he can continue in the private sector as well. But as we continue tonight's discussion, don't forget to leave your comments in the comment section. Of course, you can hit me up on +592-641-0945, as well as you can leave your questions. But we want to kind of move on to what's happening with the bridge, the opening of the new Demerara Harbor Bridge, which is, a pretty big spectacle in Guyana for today. I was paying attention to the live on several people's page. They were talking about the amount of individuals who turned up for the opening of the bridge. I even heard that people travel from Berbice and from the Essequibo and from Linden and all over the country. People travel to, come and witness the opening of the new Demerara Harbor Bridge, which is pretty cool, pretty nice. I'm hoping that people understand that this new venture that has been put into Guyana's infrastructure is going to is expected to boost commerce, reduce travel time, ease congestion, improve the flow of goods and services between the regions, which I believe is an excellent thing. One of the things, though, that I've seen pop up in the whole thing, I noticed that on the president's page, there was a question asked on whether we needed to reintroduce the train system, and I do believe that that should be one of the infrastructural projects. That's next after we have the Demerara Harbor Bridge, we have the Berbice Bridge, we also have the bridge to Suriname that's upcoming. I do believe Guyana needs to look at reintroducing the train system that we had during British colonial time. But I know Martin has is it the start to finish of the Demerara Harbor Bridge, Martin?
Yes.
All right, so we're gonna go into that. We're gonna have you take a view of, the Harbor Bridge from its start to its completion, and of course today being the opening day of the new Demerara Harbor Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, I'm so proud to be Guyanese at this point in time. Um, I think we're at a good stage in Guyana's development. Like the topic for tonight says, rapid growth. Um, I know for 2026, Guyana is going to be signing quite a few new oil contracts, which would be adding significantly to, our GDP or gross domestic product, which is gonna, enhance our overall growth as a country. I'm hoping that, as well, that the opposition party and the government, the ruling party, can more they can work together a lot more, because I think that in order for us to really get to that point, that zenith that we want to get to as all Guyanese, um, I do believe we need to work together, because we're such a small population of individuals. We have maximum 840,000 Guyanese citizens as it is now at home. We're not talking about those people in the diaspora in the UK, in Canada, in the US, in the Caribbean, in Africa, all over the world. We have Guyanese. I'm quite sure if we went to Antarctica and checked out the igloo, a Guyanese sitting somewhere in an igloo trying to warm up as well. But Guyanese are everywhere. We're everywhere. But for those who are at home, I believe the best way for, us to see our real potential, to meet that potential, is to work together. I'm hoping when Parliament is convened, that the old PNC that was in there, they kind of work a lot more. I don't know what the new parties are going to bring to Parliament, because we haven't seen in the news any new policies. All we're hearing is, a lot of the new parties are just saying that they need to stamp out corruption. They need to look at money spending. That's all good, but I think money spending and stuff like that, that information we can get to the Auditor General. Um, we can also sort out where monies are being wasted just through some simple audits. So they need to come up with real policy strategies, in my estimation, that kind of bring new ideas to the table. I know President Ali is asking, and his team is asking the question, do you think we should bring the train system back? I personally believe we should bring the train system back, because it was part of Guyana's original infrastructure during the colonial time, except that it will be good now that we can extend it all the way to the west side, where the train can now go from, let's say, Linden all the way down to Puerto Rico. If possible, we can have a link to Bartica that takes it all the way to Bartica, the island. So it changes the way people can commute in Guyana, because again, we don't, although we're building all the roads and we're building all these highways, we are still going to have major issues with congestion in the city of Georgetown. Because if everybody is going to come to Georgetown to work, or people are going to come to Georgetown for business, and they're all coming in at certain times with their vehicles, we're going to have major congestion. We have to think about alleviating that congestion by having, let's say, a rail system in place where people can, okay, I'm going to a meeting in Georgetown, I'm leaving Linden. I could leave my car in Linden. I could jump on a train, and I know in 45 minutes I'm in Georgetown. I can conduct my business, jump back on the train, get back to Linden, and I can pick up my car from the parking lot and drive home. So we got to look at those type of efficient infrastructure that really helps us to be more efficient and to be more productive. That to me is something that I believe all the political parties should look at and come up with ways of how we can make it better for the Guyanese citizenry, and not just be opposing or objecting to things just because of objecting. That's my take. Just as we are about to wrap up tonight's conversation. Sorry.
Well, y'all know me, fully patriotic. I have always believed from since small, Guyana is a beautiful place, even though I didn't went anywhere. But I remember when I was younger, my grandmother used to send postcards and so on from Miami. Nice thing with the beach and everything, and it was beautiful. But when I
Yeah.
came to Miami, it was different. I rather have the postcards at that point. You understand?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
will always continue to believe Guyana is a beautiful place. It will remain a beautiful place. The people is beautiful. Everything about Guyana is beautiful. And to
Yeah.
see major growth, major development across the entire country. I remember a couple of months ago, I went to what we used to call the backlands, the Key Field. I remember it as the Key Field,
Yeah.
right? We used to go there. I still can't swim, but me and some school friends, brothers, and things used to go and swim back in the days, and so on. And now there's a major housing development. Till one of the guys, or a couple of the guys, actually have houses in that development. Again,
Yeah.
we used to call it the backland. I know we used to go pick the key in there and
Mm-hmm.
eat it. You
Yeah.
understand? And to see major change. Now that key and field road running into the highway road, the brand new bridge and everything. So I
Yeah.
know Guyana from where it was. And to be 31 years old this year, to see all the growth, all the development, we could only be going up. You understand? We
Yeah.
could only
Yeah. Yeah.
continue to go up at the end of the day. I too
Yeah.
have been watching. bits of the opening of the bridge. I think it's amazing. I think the team did a very good job from government level right down, right?
Yeah.
And I wish I was home because right now I just saw a clip of everybody running across. I saw a piece of clip of our good friend James Bond asking Minister Kwame Mackay if we walking back, right? And then everybody started jogging from the president to the prime minister, vice president, everybody. It's an
Yeah.
event. It's a
I mean, this what I'm
memorable event.
saying. What I'm saying there is like for like these major infrastructural launches, these product, these stuff that we have in Ghana, we should have had, all the political parties there, at least their leaders, to show that level of solidarity and togetherness, because really the bridge is not just for the people who are interested in the ruling party. The bridge is for
Correct.
everybody. It's for
Well,
everybody. You know.
this is where the mindset of individuals are. You understand? Because we have now I've seen people talk bad against the bridge. I don't know how you can talk bad against it when you got crossed over to go over the river. Because I know you ain't gonna be taking no boat or there's no old harbor bridge anymore after in a couple of months, I'm sure. So
Yeah.
you're gonna have to use it at some point in time. But
Yeah.
I think everybody should have the level of decency, the level of respect, and maturity to
Maturity, most
understand the
of all. Yeah.
game, right? I've also seen people praising the government. I personally don't think you need to praise anybody, especially in government. This is something that they were placed to do, so they're only doing their job.
That's the
Understand?
they're the ones who said, if we get into government, these are the services we will deliver. And that
That
has
is it.
that goes across the board, whether it's the ruling party presently, whether it's
Or the
another
other party.
party that gets into
Hmm.
power, but they all have, if you have decided to take up the mantle of running 83,000 square miles, you should be running it for the collective of everybody and not just the people who vote for you. You know, I mean, in terms
I
of,
agree.
I agree with you totally about the praises part, but I would commend President Ali for constantly repeating one thing. And I really like what he says. He's a president for all Guyana, not just for his political party, but for all Guyanese. And it shows when you allow infrastructural projects that can then affect commerce in such a way that regardless of which political party you support, the commerce, your business, your growth can still happen. I gotta give props for that kind of forward thinking and maturity. Of course, we gotta wrap up tonight's conversation. Check us out every Sunday. We're gonna do it from 7:30 until,
Mhm.
as well as on Tuesday. We're gonna give you some updates on what is happening in Guyana. We're gonna give you a lot more updates on what's happening with these new oil contracts that are coming up in 2026. Make sure you follow
Yes.
us on all. Yep, follow us on social media platforms, and of course tomorrow morning from 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock in Guyana and the Caribbean, also in Canada and the USA. Check us out for the Rush Guyana's Industry Show, where we hit you with nothing but great music, great vibe out of Guyana, South America. Yes, Martin, your final thoughts before we wrap up tonight's conversation.
Well, as you mentioned, the new oil contract is going to be signed soon. I was going to say shout out to the group of ladies who was able to secure their own space, right?
Yep.
So big up yourself. It's nice
Yeah.
to see women. It might sound wrong, but it's nice to see women drilling.
I mean,
Yeah,
listen. I mean, it's like we have in out of Africa, right? There's this multi-billionaire by the name of Dan Gotti,
mm-hmm.
right? He's got like a lot of these conglomerate companies out of Africa and stuff like that. So as we said earlier, Guyanese think big. So I would really
Indeed.
love to see those ladies who have their oil prospects out there as well to do just as well as Mr. Dan Gotti. be able to build the businesses in Guyana, create new avenues, just grow the country, because this is what we're looking to do. This is what all Guyanese want, because at one point in time, we were slated as the breadbasket of the Caribbean in the early 60s and 70s. And, at one point, we got to say we was last, but you know how it is. When the sun smile on you, the last will become first, and the first has become last. Let me repeat that again, right? The first become last, and the last become first. You know what I mean? Gotta big up all my GT people. Of course, again, you can leave your questions and comments in the comment section, or you can hit me up on +592-641-0945. You can hit Martin up as well on
305-713-8595.
Hope we were able to bring you a lot of information this evening. All of it wasn't informational. All of it was informational, but some of it was kind of slumber, because I really felt a bit disappointed in the Ian Roberts case. But I'm hoping that at some point in the investigation, a lot of whatever discrepancies were in his case comes to the fore, and he's able to iron that out, because he has made a contribution to the U.S. Trust me, 20 odd years is a long time to be working in a field, and eventually lose it all. That's just really sad. I mean, to me, that's the only sad occurrence in what we had to discuss in tonight's conversation. Make sure you follow me on social media. That's Malachi. That's on Facebook and YouTube. Of course, tomorrow, make sure you check us out in the Rush Guyana's Industry Show as well. You can follow Martin on his social media pages. You can give them that information as well.
That is Martain Al-Ameen, MartainAlam, 2 E's and a beautiful N. All right.
Love you, world. Love you, Guyana. And of course, in everything that you do, be good and be safe. As we always say, one people, one nation, and one destiny. That's Guyana.
So what we'll do is we'll leave them with some of the live coverage of the commission of the new bridge. That way everybody who's not watching on that side and is watching us is not missing out anything. All right.
Yeah, we'll leave them with a bit of that info. Good night, everybody. Hope you have a great one. Till tomorrow.
There, with their flags flying high, and President Ali, you see his wife next to him, First Lady, Her Excellency Arya Ali, their son Zaid at the side, and of course Ilan is there in the thick of things as well, just at the preparation for the cutting of the ribbon. Of course, President Ali making sure that all things are in place, but you can see a mammoth crowd preparing to walk across the bridge. This is huge. This is huge. A great moment for Guyana that will forever be remembered. If you're just joining us, we're on the sidelines of the new Demerara River Bridge, making sure that this bridge is a signal. President Ali has now taken his son in hand, awaiting the scissors to do the ceremonial cutting. Thousands of Guyanese have marched to the area just to be part and witness the ribbon cutting. Of course, Zaid Ali, Ilan Ali, and Her Excellency First Lady Arya Ali are all there. On the side of the president, you see on his left, Minister of Public Works, who was responsible for overseeing this project and ensuring that it comes to fruition, Bishop Juan Edgel there as well. I can see Second Lady just on the side of First Lady Arya Ali, Mrs. Phillips there, also witnessing the ceremonial cutting. if you were to see the crowd, you would see cyclists also making their way to make that ceremonial ride across the bridge. That happening here as well. This is grand. Guyanese from all walks of life. And now the ribbon is about to be cut. First son, Zaid Ali, is about to cut the ribbon. And he's cutting. And the ribbon is almost cut. And the ribbon is cut. The ribbon is cut. Very soon we should see fireworks in the sky. The ribbon is cut. This marks the opening after 3 years of hard work, tireless work by the consultants, the contractors, the Ministry of Public Works and their engineers, bringing this to fruition here on October 5, the night of October 5. The bridge is officially open and the walk is about to begin. Very soon you will see fireworks in the sky and you will hear the honking of the horns to commemorate the opening of the bridge here on the eastern side, just closer to the Heroes Highway. Of course, the walk has begun. The walk has begun. President Dr. Mohamed Irfaan Ali is already making his way across the bridge, of course, flanked by ministers of government and the media, of course, capturing this moment for those who were unable to be here as well. Several cyclists are also taking the walk. Of course, 10,000 of Guyanese are making their way across the Barajagdio Demerara River Bridge. This is happening now. You can see it on your screen. The President leading the charge with thousands of people behind him as they take the walk across the bridge. End of the hard work, a celebration after hard work, all of that happening here on the sidelines of the new Demerara River Bridge. Absolutely beautiful. You can see the golden arrowhead flying